All right, everyone, welcome back from lunch. These lunches are amazing. I think that's why a lot of people are still down there. They're like, we're not leaving. So right now we have future-proofing route to market operations on a connected end-to-end commercial platform. And please welcome, as we have Keir Stewart, Retailer and Sales Operations Support Controller at AG Barr, join us, as well as Andrew Kelleher, who's a Senior Vice President, Marketing at Forza. So take it away, guys. Go ahead and catch the video.
AG Barr is a UK-based branded multi-beverage business. We're ambitious brand owners and builders, offering a diverse and differentiated portfolio that people love. Focused on growth, our purpose is to create value with values. We do this by building great brands across our 4 business divisions. Home to some of the UK's most loved soft drink brands, from the iconic Iron Brew to the vibrant fruit-based brand Rubicon and the unique range of Barr flavours. Barr Soft Drinks offers great tasting products and creates exciting innovation. Funkin operates within the vibrant and growing cocktail market. Real fruit means authentic bar quality taste. And Funkin believes that to enjoy the best cocktail, you have to use the best ingredients. That's why it's the UK's #1 cocktail brand. With a challenger mentality, Boost offers exciting functional drinks across energy stimulation, sport isotonic, and iced coffee. Always looking to deliver high quality, great tasting drinks at value for money price points. Experts in oats since 2006, Mama makes porridge and oat drinks from the finest quality whole grain British oats. They believe in crafting simple, natural ingredients into food and drink that taste awesome. Together, Barr Soft Drinks, Funkin, Boost and Mama represent the essence of AG Barr, and everything we do is driven by our responsibility commitments. AG Barr, building great brands.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. I'm absolutely, from a personal perspective, really excited to be standing on stage today with Keir from AG Barr, because this story of transformation, for me personally, started 20 years ago. I actually used to work for Seawall Systems, who some of you may remember back in my Oracle days, and I put in the system that we replaced from an Forza perspective at AG Barr 20 years ago. So it's great to bring AG Barr to the cloud, to bring them to a connected platform. And as I said, really excited to be taking you through this story with Keir today. So Keir, maybe I thought we could start by introducing AG Barr and a bit about yourself and the company.
Yeah, so obviously we played the video there at the beginning. So AG Barr is a group of businesses. So I work for the soft drinks company, which is the oldest and largest part of the organization. It's worth about 85% of our revenue. So it is the core driver of the overall group. Most famous for Iron Brew, which there's a lot of people from the UK, so you'll be familiar with it. But if you visited the UK, you'll have been welcomed with a wall of orange at some point, which is Iron Brew. It's the #1 soft drink in Scotland, but we also have a huge range of brands as well. We pride ourselves in having a favourite flavour for everybody and at any consumption occasion.
Maybe a bit about yourself and the role at AG Barr.
Yeah, so the soft drinks business, I should have said there a second ago, is 150 years old next year. I joined the business back in 2008. So when I joined the business, I joined as a field sales representative, so straight out of university. And the tech I was given on that first day was a phone and a fax machine. So actually not that long ago, we were still using fax machines in our business. And I would file my efficiencies, my call reports through a fax machine every single day. So although we're 150 years old, some of the tech takes a while to kind of move through in our business. I then had the opportunity to do quite a traditional commercial career within AG Barr. So went from field sales into account managing at a regional, national account level. Then I came back to kind of manage the field sales team back in 2013. So I was managing that team. And what I was most surprised about was the fact that the fax machine was still there. But I think what took me more by surprise was the industry behind the fax machine. I took that for granted when I was a rep, that everything just happened. But actually, we had a huge team of people digitizing the outputs from the fax machines on a daily basis. And I think that was the first time that I really started to think about there has to be a better way to do these things. And it's where my kind of passion for digitization or enabling the sales force came from, was my love-hate relationship with a fax machine. So it's funny how these things inspire you to maybe want to make a change. And I think that's what we're always striving to find, kind of a better way to do things. And I've been involved in a few digital transformation projects within AG Barr. So whether it's a slight change to the CRM system or some customer-facing online ordering, digital platforms, how we talk to retailers, and then ultimately the piece of work that we've done over the past 2 years to get to where we've got to today. I think for a bit of context, it's probably quite important to understand the market that we were trying to influence with this piece of transformation. Obviously, again, some people from the UK, you'll understand the market, but ultimately, the symbols and independence space in the UK is a very traditional space. So think of them as 35,000 or 40,000, depending on who you ask. We're never quite sure how many there are. Independent corner shops. And every single one of them has the power to make their own decisions. And for us as a business, being a challenger brand, this group of customers are massively important to our success. It's a strategic pillar for the business to win within symbols and independence. And a second strategic pillar we have as a business is to digitize that business. So to acknowledge the fact that we're maybe not where we need to be as a business to enable the team to win. So those two strategic pillars came together as part of one project. And the market, it's 35,000 retailers, the length and breadth of the country, but the makeup of those as well is split between rural stores, urban stores, and everything in between. So the products that those customers need is completely different depending on the location of the store, the kind of customer they have. But equally, the missions in those stores is massively changing. So we're now seeing shoppers begin to shop in some of these stores like more of your kind of modern multiple customers. So they are becoming much more professionalized, and we need to be able to enable the team to deal with these customers the length and breadth of the country. And equally, along the bottom there is kind of a belief that this is kind of an old school category, because most of the stores move through traditional kind of, so they're all family owned businesses and they move through generations. And up until maybe 10, 15 years ago, the demographics of those were older from a population perspective. So we used to talk to them in a very traditional way. We did a lot of posts, we did a lot of text, but actually now around 50% of our customers are under 40. So they are the owners of these stores, and we need to talk to them in a completely different way. And we as a business maybe weren't quite set up to deal with both of the change in demographics, but also the choice that we need to be able to show when we're out in those retailers.
Here on that, how important is segmentation to that strategy?
Yeah, so I think segmentation is really key for us, because understanding their location, that can put them into a segment type. Whether they're a symbol can be really important to us. So are they part of the Spar group, a Premier group, or are they a really good independent? So we need to be able to define different segments of customers so we can then do the right thing in those stores, because ultimately, if we send them in to do the wrong thing, we're not going to be successful. So yeah, segmentation is really important. And even on that bottom part about being able to understand how best to connect with them, so the age profile, the kind of tech that those customers are using, we've got all that information now, and we can then segment based on all the other data points as well.
And based on that, and I know we'll get to this in a moment, but how have the channels changed based on that demographic shift in?
What do you mean, sorry?
The channels that those customers expect to interact with you on.
Yeah, so I think that, so previously, similar to the fax machine and all that kind of stuff, the tech in that industry has been really slow to kind of catch up. But actually, as all of the wholesalers in this market evolve, the customers are much more kind of comfortable in being talked to through apps, through WhatsApp, through email. And so we obviously have a direct-to-store app for the customers as well. So yeah, the demographics again is shifting. So we need to be at the forefront of what our customers want or expect to be able to kind of win within that category. And I think, oh yeah, do you want to?
No, on to business challenges, right?
I was just going straight into it. So yes, I think when we got to the point of this piece of digital transformation, we did have quite a few challenges as a business. It was fair to say we were a good 10, 15 years behind probably where we wanted to be from a complete tech perspective. But I think we'd set ourselves up for that because actually we had 2 or 3 different channels that were looking after this one large space. So we had a team in England and a team in Scotland run by 2 different people with 2 different expectations, 2 different KPI groups. Even though it was the same customers, ultimately, and the profiles were the same, we were treating them as 2 separate categories. But also within that, we had a complicated route to market strategy, so go to market. So we have telesales, field sales, driver salesmen, driver delivery drivers, van mates to support them, all of the tech that goes on behind the scenes to connect the depots, to enable the deliveries, the finance elements of that. So we collect payments at point of delivery and even at point of sale as well. So I think we had a hugely challenging group of 2 individual business units with a lot on the go in between. And those elements all worked in silo, is what we kind of find. And there was no real good cross collaboration within that piece because they were separate teams. So by bringing them together, that was the start of the change. And I think from a customer perspective, everything probably looked okay. It was kind of like the swan analogy, like everything from their perspective looked fine, but my team in the background were pedaling like mad just to kind of make sure everything was connected. And I think a lot of that was kind of driven by, we had 2 separate sales systems at the time. So we had a relatively modern system in Scotland, but if we're honest, we'd probably overly customized that piece of tech and we'd maybe caused ourselves a few challenges in the mix. But we also had a dated platform that you'd introduced us to 20 years before. So 20 years worth of tech that was in the business, but it was end of life. There was no support for that tech. We had a really capable IT team holding it together. But ultimately, at any point in time overnight, 8,500 customers might have been at risk from our business. So we had to find a way to make sure that didn't happen. But because
that was real sort of legacy debt. I mean, at that time, Siebel was unsupported. Oracle stopped supporting it. You were running a risk of...
Yeah, I think Brian Jolly in our IT team, I think he was the one remaining expert on that Siebel platform that was kind of, kicking about. So it was a worry and a real business risk moving forward. And I think by having 2 sales systems, it meant that there was duplication of everything we did. So anytime we did a price increase, my team would have to do it twice. Yep. Anytime we wanted to put a new promotional plan in, my team would have to do that twice. And even with promotions, because we were using very different architecture, there was promotions we could do in Scotland, but we couldn't do them in England. Our payments were better in the legacy system than the slightly more modern system. So again, depending on where you were as a customer, your trading relationship with us was different. And that then meant that my team who were commsing the customers, the plans and the promotions, they also had to do all that twice as well. So all the design effort, all the digital marketing, the traditional marketing, all of that was duplicated. So there was a huge cost to that piece as well. So I think those were kind of the main kind of internal business risk. But then we also had field sales, which again was a separate business unit. So 3 separate business units all coming into play with different ideas and different kind of priorities. And we put the 3 elements together to bring in some synergies because they're all going into the same market. Ultimately, we would have a driver maybe making a delivery. 2 days later, we would have a rep going in, and I heard some of this yesterday, and they would ask the same questions because they didn't have any access to the information from the other guys. So it was quite a clunky customer and rep world to kind of be in. And then with the field sales piece, we as a business have been looking at kind of growing that platform, but it needed to be correct before we could roll it out any further. So yeah.
So onto the transformation, and we'll get into the details of what you did and how you approached that, and how, I guess how we worked with you from an Enforcer perspective.
Yeah, and if it was easy as one slide, then that would be great. But there's obviously a huge amount of effort and stuff that goes into the background to make a change like this happen. So I think we've obviously gone through there some of the high-level issues that we were seeing as a business, but there was a huge number of other areas for potential benefit that we were keen to obviously unlock with a piece of transformation. I guess the ultimate goal for this project was, how do we better influence the symbols and independent market in the UK so that we can grow our distribution and then grow our market share? So how do we enable everything in the background to then facilitate improved business performance within those customers? So we had to be really clear on what was the scope, and actually for us, learning from previous iterations in the past, we really wanted to keep it simple. It was really important to us that we went for config over customization. So we wanted to keep it as standard as possible, having been kind of tangled in knots in the past and maybe not got the benefit from future releases and all those kind of things. So a clear deliverable is to find a way to make everything that we talked about earlier on work better together. So find a better way to kind of do that. And we then defined the tangible benefits on the back of those. So when we knew what we were trying to achieve, we set ourselves challenging but realistic targets and expectations so that we could, as we went through deployment, as we went through live, make sure we were getting the investment back that we kind of put in. So we did all of that up front, and we did that as a collaborative team between commercial and IT. So we were clear on what exactly are we going out to market to find. And then it was about finding the right partner. And I think for me and the business, to be fair, key there is the word partner. And we wanted to invest in a product that wouldn't necessarily just fix my issues of today. And there was a long list, but we wanted it to be able to kind of evolve with us as we went. And so we wanted to invest into a product that we knew had a roadmap that stacked up to what we were trying to achieve. We're comfortable to hear what we would maybe like added to the product for the future as well, so that ultimately we could both win and grow as businesses together, and then potentially benefit from other FMCG companies that are using the tool and what they want the tool to do. So we see the benefit of being part of a bigger play, especially when we look at the scale of our company. We're not the Coca-Cola, we're not the Britvic, so we need to be able to kind of maybe take some of the learnings from other places as well and kind of
be nimble and move quickly.
Yeah. And I think, so looking for that partner and really trying to find that kind of best in class out of the box was important, because we were trying to keep it simple. Yep. So it needed to be able to plug and play on the elements that we wanted to use at the time. And we obviously found the Aforza solution, and then we worked with that team to make sure that we did try and deliver the benefits. And I think key to us, yes, we contracted ourselves to keep it simple, but we actually contracted the supplier to keep it simple too. So anytime we were veering towards customization, actually challenge us on that, because it's so easy in a business to be like, well, we've done it this way for 15, 20 years, especially in commercial, right? And they can't see another way to do it. Whereas actually we need to lean on the deployment partners, the experts, to kind of say, well, there must be another way. And I think one of the other things that was important to us about this product search was we wanted something that lived and breathed FMCG for us as a business, because when we looked at quite a lot of products, they were kind of lent towards or built in a medical finance world, which for us was just a bit too technical, complicated. We needed something a bit more consumer goods facing. So that was kind of another core thing we went to do. And then I think once you got the right partner supplier, it's about then empowering and enabling the transformation. So you have to have the right team to do that and give them the space to allow it to happen. And I think we did it a little bit differently from the past, again, trying to learn on previous deployments. But we created a multi-layer project team, and that internally was, so there was a leadership layer of the project, so project manager, an IT lead, and then the commercial lead. And so I was the commercial lead. And my role then, I had below me a group of functional leads, and we were trying to connect the dots throughout the business to make sure the right people were engaged up front, so that, because they're the guys that know the problems, they're the guys that know what benefits the solution will deliver, but also contracting them up front as part of the process means they're bought into what you're trying to achieve. So when it comes to the change management program you need to put in place, they're the guys that are going to be leading it from the front. So if they're delivering the change, they're bought into it. So when it comes to training their teams, bringing them onto it, they know exactly what we're trying to achieve. And I think the one thing that we also did a bit differently here, and I'm not sure if it's something your businesses would be doing as well, but we had a steering co, which won't be that unusual, but we actually had a multi-business steer co. So it wasn't just AG Barr. We had our supplier on the steer co. We also had our delivery partner on the steer co as well. So their leadership team sat with our leadership team just to make sure we were all on the right track. And also it gave us that chance for the leadership teams from the other businesses to also try and make us keep it simple. So to test any of the elements of where we're maybe steering towards customization and try and keep us on track. And I think as a project team, I think where we got a real benefit from it was anytime anything got a little bit tetchy in a project, like as you get to over the line and there's something that's not quite working, anytime we couldn't quite fix it within the project, we were able just to throw it up a level, and the leaderships of all of the businesses involved were able to kind of come to a decision, push it back down, but we could just get on with doing the project instead of getting worried or getting involved in too much of that part of the project. We could just get on with the things that we could do at that moment in time. And we did it in an agile way. So agile was important to us because that allowed us to drip feed elements of what was coming to the business. So we gave them snapshots of some of the change that they were going to benefit from. Again, trying to learn from previous experience where we maybe went, ta-da, here's this great new system, but actually they weren't brought on the journey, so it didn't maybe connect as well as it should have done. So we tried to make it as agile as possible. And then to make that happen, it was just making sure we had the right people at the right time. So.
Brilliant. And in terms of the challenges, you talked about a very siloed way of working from a business perspective. You talked about the importance of that connected solution. So do you maybe want to talk about just how you approach things, the end-to-end nature of what you deployed with Forza?
Yeah, so obviously we had that real complicated go-to-market strategy. So we had to, all the touch points we kind of see over here, we were trying to cover off each of the touch points. So it was about having that right group of individuals for each of the touch points, but then having myself as kind of being the functional lead to make sure that I could balance the expectations of field sales versus telesales, because at times internally there'd be things that would conflict. So we had to find a way to balance that off. And obviously as we got through the end of that process, we did end up with a connected platform that we've moved from 2 disconnected systems to 1 single solution that allows us to get to data a lot quicker. The one thing I didn't say about field sales is we collect a huge amount of data. Like there's an industry of spreadsheets in our field sales team. So we replaced the fax machine, but we just did that with spreadsheets. And actually, it takes so much time for us to prepare those forms for the reps to fill in every month, to prepare the summaries, to prepare the dashboards, that by the time you've done all that, it's the next period. So now we're at a point where we can act on the data in the moment. And yeah, an end-to-end experience from a customer perspective. So that point where I talked about a customer maybe having 3 or 4 different touch points, now at least if a driver's been in, the rep can see the conversation they had, follow up on it, so we don't end up asking the same thing on multiple occasions.
Excellent. And so don't worry, I won't bore you with the complete architecture here and go into too much detail, but I think the connected nature of what Keir described, and if we just pop back a slide, you look at the different channels that they're covering, they really are using Forza from a complete connected route to market perspective. They use telesales, they have HQ planning, key account managers, field sales, right the way through to commerce and delivery drivers, DSD. They use the full platform.
And I think even on the field sales optimization piece, so one of the benefits that we set ourselves an objective with was to save time in store. Yep. So if we collect the same amount of data as we did before, but the reps are doing that twice as quick as what we set ourselves the objective to do. And that then means that they get more time in call to have distribution discussions with the shopkeeper instead of wasting their time just collecting the data. Yep. And we can also then use the data to inform business decisions moving forward.
And I think a lot of the channels we talked about, you do use our retail execution, CRM, the trade promotions, but now we're starting to work with AG Barr on that next layer out. So Studio, which is our photo automation tool, and then also, which we'll show you a demo in a second of, but some of these AI use cases, because of all that data you collect, it's a lot of empowerment for your sales teams, but we've got to make it accessible.
Yeah.
And so with that, just on a short demonstration here, but one of the areas that Keir's working very closely with now is moving to really empowering that field sales team. And in this short demonstration, we'll just show you what that kind of mobile experience looks like from a mobile, tablet, offline perspective, but then how we're starting to work with them on AI recommendations. So how do we take that vast history of order data, visit data, and not overly complicated, just deliver it to the sales rep on the mobile app in 3 simple prompts. If there's anything you're going to do in this store, just 3 things, remember this. We then a bit about the offline promotion execution and then the image recognition side of things. So I think the first thing that goes without saying here is that I guess the adoption of this more modern mobile app compared to, say, the Siebel system that you had before or the silos has been game-changing. Any comments from a kind of a field user perspective there?
Yes, I think that was one of the kind of clear objectives for the digitization was to make it more accessible to the field sales rep especially. So this is obviously the field sales view, the telesales view is quite similar, but if you think about what the field sales rep used to have, he used to just have access to spreadsheets and lists of stores or a summary of what he'd seen before, whereas actually now there is more visualization of what they've done in store before. They can see their previous visits from where we're at. And then even just where am I going next? So here's where I am, whereas they would have had to plug and play that into another device to kind of get their route for the day. But yeah,
I think this
clean is what we were going for.
And this perfect store prompt here, so basically really keeping it simple, using generative AI just to take all the visit history and just these are the 3 things the rep needs to do when they go into the store. It's so simple. It's probably one of the simplest AI use cases we do, but it really works for the team.
Yeah, and I think for us, this is where we're obviously looking to edge towards introducing this element. And I think for me, it's really important that we find ways to empower that team. These representatives they're very green. They tend to be first job is sales rep, and actually they spend 80-90% of their time in isolation. Yes, they're supported, they're coached by their manager, but we're not, and I keep saying this to the commercial director, we're not trying to turn these people into robots, but we're trying to find better ways to give them enough insight to become good salespeople faster, and anything we can do to empower next best action has got to be worth looking at. And obviously AI, we've talked about it a lot during the past 2 days, and I think in a year or two, it's just going to keep growing. So we need to be at the forefront of that tech. Otherwise, our competition will be. And if we aren't implementing and giving the guys the tools that they need when they're in store, we'll lose space, we'll lose share, and we need to find the tools to help us do it.
Excellent. So maybe just about 10 minutes to go, and we'll leave some time for some questions. But Keir, on the learning side of things, do you want to just recap on your key takeaways if you were going to do this again?
Yeah, so I think any kind of change or transformation, it's important to take stock and be like, well, what worked, what what didn't work and what could have been a bit better, because these things definitely don't go perfectly. And it takes a lot of blood, sweat and tears to kind of get there. But I think for us as a business, it's just about making sure you are honest to your objective of keeping it simple. Because we can easily fall down the rabbit hole of, well, we've done it this way for 5 years, so it must be the way to do it. So always keep challenging yourself to keep it simple, but make sure the supplier does that too, because actually they've got the knowledge from the other deployments, from the other customers that we don't have. So push them to push you and use each other to kind of do that. But while you're keeping it simple, make sure you enable maximum transformation, because actually you only get one, maybe two bites at this. So it's how do you make sure you are getting the biggest benefit from any kind of deployment? So keep challenging yourself to get maximum transformation and be conscious of scope creep. Scope creep can kill any project, whether it comes up from the bottom or down from the top about other areas you might want to consider halfway through a project, or can we also add this in? Yes, have a look at it because there's a business reason to do it, but go back to your benefits case and what you were trying to achieve. And does this element of creep help deliver against those? Or does it introduce a significant new benefit? Then yeah, let's crack on with it. But actually, if it doesn't, be comfortable enough to challenge back and say, no, we're going to keep it simple because we want to get maximum transformation. So we're not going to do the creep. And then you'll be able to enable that if you use the experienced resource. So yes, the supplier and some other people in the room, but your teams that live and breathe it every day, and they'll know when scope's a little bit too much. So use the right resource. And I think that's probably where we, as a business, maybe didn't quite get it right. So everyone who delivered on this project, they were doing their day-to-day job as well. So they were doing their full-time job and the digital transformation. And actually, we asked far too much of those individuals. We were lucky that we had passionate, driven individuals to do it. But on reflection, we should have given them more headspace to allow them to do it. And equally, we used one or two individuals potentially as a development opportunity. And actually, if you're going for such significant change, you need to figure out, is that the right thing to do for the business at that point in time? And in hindsight, we maybe should have stuck with the more experienced members at that time.
Thanks, Keir. And then I guess just to wrap before we go to questions, what does the future look like for this platform and where you're going to take things?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's kind of, we can't stand still, I guess. And I think that's been a message for the past couple of days, is everything is always changing. And this, yeah, it's a massive step change for us as a business and from where we started, but it's just the foundation. It's about getting that channel right and ready. But then we're then going to expand out the system. So we call it a fusion internally. And we're going to expand that out to other channels. So we're going to introduce it to the mults, the out-of-home and the wholesale teams, plus some account managers. And then we're going to stretch it across the group as well. So we're going to look at bringing Funk and Cocktails onto the platform as well. And that'll give us a lot of synergies, from moving between group to group, but also for my team, our whole field sales group will be on one system. So we'll be able to deal with them a little bit better. And then I guess long term from us in AG Barr is not very far. It's within the next 6 months / 12 to 18 is where we're looking. So we are flexing the data. So, and I heard people talk about it yesterday, but we're using all the data outputs and we're connecting them with EPOS data, with demographics, all that kind of stuff to model what perfect stores are, to then direct our field sales team to the ones where they can make the biggest difference. We won't force them to go to a full profile. We'll give them some flex, but there will be some stores where if they're having no impact whatsoever, we'll begin to trade them out where we can actually add value in call. So we use the data better. The AI stuff, we've obviously covered that. Image recognition, it's been a challenge for us to find the right platform in the S&I space because the stores are quite small. Getting a proper picture of it can be challenging. We are working with a couple of people now to see how that would go. If we go into the mults, into out-of-home, image recognition becomes much easier because they've got great lighting, big shelves, so you can get a nice photo of it. And then future platform enhancements, like I said at the beginning, like we didn't invest in a product just for today. we invested in one that will evolve and grow. So anything that comes down from the roadmap, we will, as a business, look at it and decide when we're going to take advantage of the tool or choose not to if it's not quite right. But yeah, I guess that's the future in a nutshell.
Brilliant. Thanks, Keir. We've got a couple of minutes left. Just wanted to turn it over to questions. If there's any questions for Keir from the audience.
Or for Andy.
Yeah. If not, we'll wrap 2 minutes early. Thank you very much. Thank you, Keir.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Keir.